So what I want to do, a little quick tippy video, if I'm honest, that I just want to have a little chat about in using ground bait pretty much at this time of year. It's, for my commercial fishing, ground bait definitely comes to the fore for me a lot more in the winter than it does the summer. So just because I seem to think it sparks my peg a bit quicker whenever I'm fishing micros and expanders or my silverfish with maggots. I think ground bait just makes things happen quicker for me as opposed to when I'm fishing hard pellets and all that in the summer. But what I do find is I very rarely need hardly any ground bait. I need tiny portions of it to use because I use nothing throughout the day. So the last thing I want is to be mixing full bags, having to prep them properly in a bucket. It's a lot of effort for a lot of potential wastage that I just don't think you need in the winter. So what I want to do is a very quick way of bodging up my ground bait. I mean, when my time's limited at matches like Tunnel Barn Farm, F1-y type matches, where I've got to mix a tiny little bit of ground bait really quick. So I have a very simple way of bodging it to make sure it is right every single time. And it's a little bit different to the norm. So with this one, I'm going to move with the milled expanders, which is me general pick. I'll pick milled expanders nearly always whenever I'm feeding micros for F1s. I may sometimes go with a milled micro instead that's a bit stickier, a little bit heavier, but it all depends on what mood I'm in. I can't actually tell you why I'd use which one as both and the other, just as long as it's pellet-based mix, that's what I'm after. And you tend to find that with the very high concentrate pellet-based mixes, they can be a little bit sticky. I mean, they can be a bit tricky to mix, so the last thing I want to do is mess them up. So by putting a little bit, I ain't going to use much, I'm going to mix half a pint. Yeah, tiny bit of ground bait, which is miles enough for in the winter when I'm feeding little minute thumbnails of ground bait every now and again. I'm going to put the dry mix in a tub, and I'm going to absolutely swamp it in water. So I'm going to give it loads and loads of water, so almost as if I'm making a paste, just to ensure every single particle in it, yeah, is completely wet. Yeah, there's zero dryness in that mix once I've got a whiz round. And do you know what I mean? It's a slop. That's pretty much what I'm making, is a slop, which is, I mean, as good as ruined, but it's not. Yeah, because you've got a pellet-based mix, it soaks up so much water. Don't get me wrong, I don't want it completely like water. I want it as a sticky slop that just drips off my fingers. That is about the perfect consistency of what I'm after. And in true Blue Peter style, if I leave that for sort of 10-15 minutes, when all them particles completely absorb it up, swell up a little bit, you end up with a stodgy lump of pretty much al concrete in my tub, which, believe it or not, it's exactly what I'm after, because I know that everything's as heavy and as wet, as dense as it possibly can be, and it's just right. You know what I mean? No good in that current form, but I can fix that, make it really nice with the use of a quick riddle, and just by separating all that out my tub, it's quite sticky. It's just like a really dry, dense sort of paste. But by whacking that on riddle, just by pushing it through, lovely. See, I don't need a lot. I might use half of this. If I want, I could push it all through. I'll see what mood I'm in, but just I keep pushing it through your riddle, what you end up with is millions and millions of little tiny lumps of it, sort of thing. And that is the perfect sort of amount that I'll do for now for showing you what I'm after. What that gives me is the perfect mix that's as heavy as it can possibly be, as wet as it can possibly be, but say lovely and separated, so I can feed little tiny balls of sort of this size that I might use to top me peg up, that I've got no need for wasting bags and bags of ground bait. Literally one bag might do me 4 or 5 sessions without being too tight during the winter, and say saves that massive big waste at the end of the day throwing bait in that we simply didn't need to prep. So yeah, nice quick easy one that ensures the best ground bait without having to go back to it 5 or 10 times just to make sure it's perfect every time. So that is the idiots, or my guide definitely, to making your ground bait nice and quick for them winter sort of expandery pellety type sessions.